Moving on to the Big 12 and the Big 10 rumors, because everybody is a conference realignment professor at this point. They're an expert.
Apparently.
Before I get your opinion on it, because there were some really interesting things.
Yeah.
Pac-12 media deal.
Yeah.
Apparently, word on the street is we're going to be
that's been confirmed.
Potentially getting a deal. At least 48 hours, right?
It's been confirmed that tomorrow morning the Pac-12 will have a meeting where George Kliavkoff will present the official numbers for whatever deal that they have constructed. The rumor right now is that the universities already have the information and what it is. So it's the rubber's going to meet the road tomorrow.
I sure hope so. This is Stuart Mandel. So he tweeted this out a little bit earlier today, just kind of going off what you said here, saying news. Pac-12 Commissioner George Kliavkoff will finally present a TV rights deal to league members within the next 48 hours. A source tells The Athletic. The board and ADs are scheduled to meet tomorrow morning. First reported by John Canzano. Look, this I think is not an accident. The fact that from the start of the summer to now, it's been we're waiting 2 weeks. We're waiting 2 weeks. We're waiting 2 weeks. And now you've got Colorado leaving last week. And now all of a sudden there's rumors swirling about more conference realignment. Is the Pac going to stay together? Who is it going to add? What does the Big 10? What does the Big 12 want to do? There is a clock now on the Big 12.
Well, yeah, for sure. I think there's two things at play here. Number one, the clock on the Pac-12 in terms of, I do believe, and I could be wrong on this, but from the multiple different reports that I have seen, the conference has to be at 12 teams to get the max amount of money per deal. So if you lose Colorado and you're losing USC and UCLA already, you got to refill them with 3 other teams.
Yeah.
Quick. I don't know if they could do that.
I mean, they certainly can't do it by 2024. The only way that the Pac-12 would be able to add SDSU, given what has happened in the Mountain West, because if they were to leave the Mountain West, they would owe them $34 million.
Mm-hmm.
San Diego State is not going to just pony up $34 million.
Well, it was 15 or 17. And then they recommitted back to the Mountain West, and they doubled up the price to leave.
So unless George is helping them out a little bit, I don't see SDSU being a part of the Pac starting in 2024.
Agreed.
But to your point, you're playing with 9 teams at that point, and there aren't really any that move the needle outside of Oregon, maybe a little bit with Washington. Oregon State's trending up. But you don't have the USC. You don't have the UCLA.
In terms of football.
Yeah, you don't have those markets.
For sure.
CU, you don't have the prime factor that they've had over there with the noise. So it's really a now or never time for Kliavkoff to make something happen. And that's where I want to talk about the rumors, because everybody's talking about today the rumors and reports that the Big 10 is looking to add 4 more teams.
Yeah.
Washington, Oregon, Clemson, and then Florida State, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
If you lose those 2, you're done.
Oh, well, I would almost wager to say that you're done already, because there's no way that Oregon and Washington stay in the Pac-12. Without USC and UCLA, what's the need? You can go to the Big 10 and make way more money.
Yeah.
You can go to the Big 12 and make way more money. And from what we're hearing, the deal that has already been proposed, or the one that's on the table that they'll talk about tomorrow, is ridiculously low.
Yeah.
I had said that I would guess it would be between the $20 to $25 million mark. The rumors are that it came in at 25, but after the fees for the conference and all these other things that they cut off the top, each school would end up walking away with $20 million. You mean to tell me that a team like Arizona or ASU or Utah would look at that and say, oh, no, yeah, we'll take an $11.7 million cut to stay in this conference that's already falling apart on the hope that we can get some other schools to be able to stay in the fold? Like, I just don't see it. Oregon is first of all, Oregon's the biggest brand you have left football-wise in the conference. Yeah. Hands down. Then after that, it's Washington. Then after that, it's Utah. And then after that, it's probably ASU.
Yeah.
And Stanford is sitting there. And, the reason why the Big Ten, I feel like, has kind of gotten involved in the last kind of the 13th hour is because there were rumors that Stanford might leap them, Oregon, to go to the Big Ten because of their football pedigree. And also as an academic institution, it just brings a lot of notoriety to your conference. So there's a lot of things that are still kind of crazy out there.
In college football, guys, we're like less than 32 days away from college football actually starting, and now you've got all of the rumors. We've had the entire summer for the rumors, and now once CU is like really the first domino, or I guess the first domino this year to fall, now everybody with 30 days is like, okay, it's time to go.
I see, but this is where I differ with you. I feel like we've been talking about this. This is something that's been happening for the last year.
Yeah.
Since USC and UCLA announced, the clock started, and you knew it started. And the fact that after a whole nother year, you still don't have a deal that you've presented to these coaches and these administrators is just ridiculous. Let's talk about what could happen. Okay. If I was a guessing man,
okay,
I would say that Arizona's gone. I don't think Arizona's going to stay in the Pac-12. I think
you think this happens before this happens in the next 30 days.
I think it happens probably as early as the end of this week.
Really?
That Arizona will officially say that we're out. I know the Big 12 is anxious to get this all wrapped up, so I think they're gone. The biggest question remains: what happens with ASU? What happens with Utah? And whatever other schools, Oregon and Washington. Really, Oregon was rumored to be another team that could possibly go to the Big 12. I think Oregon would prefer to go to the Big 10 as opposed to the Big 12, and I would too. It's a better conference overall. But the play here has always been you have an NBA executive running the Big 12 right now, and this is a basketball play. And I know everybody says football moves the needle, and it does by a mile. But if you take out Oregon and Washington,
you're the Mountain West.
What notorious brand do you still have left to really attract other schools from? And really, it's Arizona basketball, and that's about it in terms of football and basketball.
Yeah, in terms of revenue sports, for sure.
Sure. And so
Stanford baseball, but again, baseball
so
doesn't
you'd
really...
be looking at acquiring teams like San Diego State. Cool. They made it to the national championship. Fantastic. Gonzaga, that's the pool you would have to pull from.
Yeah.
And in football, it's just too difficult. You have to... Football moves the needle and creates all the revenue, so you have to be able to make this move. I feel like ASU should go with U of A.
They should.
But you guys have talked about this at length. I don't know if it's going to happen.
This is what I'll say. I've talked to a couple people just today about the subject, and just from what I am able to really take away from that conversations, and then watch the way that ASU has handled the situation, because you haven't at any point heard ASU as a rumor to leaving the conference.
No.
And you're not going to.
And you still haven't, yeah.
The only way that Arizona State opts for a move to the Big 10 or Big 12 is if they have to. Is if the Pac-12 seriously dissolves and Arizona State has to go somewhere. I think any of the remaining conferences would welcome them with the open arms, because Bobby Hurley is Bobby Hurley. Kenny Dillingham, you've got that new fired up energy, and those are really second and third fiddle to the fact that you get Phoenix. You get the entire main portion of the Arizona market. So I think if it came down to it and ASU was looking for a home, I do think the Big 12 would seriously be interested. I think the Big 10 would certainly be interested. But I don't think at any point, even when Arizona leaves, you are not going to see an ASU rumor along with it. It has always been Colorado. It has always been Arizona as the second team that would potentially leave the pack. And now you've got the rumors of an Oregon, the Washington, the Clemson, and the FSU thing. And what I do want to say about that is it's what we saw last summer. If you remember when USC and UCLA opted to leave, or that news broke, and it felt like it was out of nowhere. And then from that point on, it was, okay, this is next. This team's going to leave. This team's going to leave. And there were rumors everywhere, and not one thing happened until Colorado left last week. So I will say, I know in terms of the Pac-12, it is certainly a different situation now than it was because of the media deal being still not really done, and we haven't heard anything about it. So that is, I guess, the one wrinkle or the one different thing that you do have to consider. But in terms of the Big Ten adding a Washington and Oregon and Clemson and FSU, just I would say hold your horses. And until you get it from a really credible person, I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think you're going to see Clemson leave the ACC. I don't think you're going to see Florida State leaving. I don't think you're going to see Washington or Oregon leaving, at least not in this offseason. Arizona, I think.
You don't think Oregon will leave until this time next year?
I don't think Oregon leaves when kickoff happens. No. I don't think so.
Really?
Yes, because this is the same thing that we saw. We saw all the rumors that transpired.
There's a big difference, though, now.
Yeah, the media deal and the fact that Colorado was left.
Well, the media deal, and that's the problem. I'm telling you, like, they present $20 million a year to these schools and see that the SEC is getting 50 plus and the Big Ten's getting 45 plus and then even the Big 12's getting 30 plus.
But they knew this. We talk about it in the fact that the media deal hasn't ever been set. But the numbers have always been, it's been a consistent, between 20 and 30.
I don't think they knew this I would say that
they were naive.
I would say that they knew this maybe in the last 3 months. But the first 9 months initially, like, you still had 10 teams. You were still rumored to be able to go out and maybe get some other teams to replace USC and UCLA. Like, so you had to sit there and think, like, we could still get a pretty good deal.
Yeah.
But then Colorado leaves, and really for the last 3 months, that's when you should have realized, like, okay, something's not right, because we should have had a deal or at least a proposal by now. And the other thing is, and I cannot emphasize this enough, if you're not on ESPN and if you're not on Fox, the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, you have completely torched your brand. And so with that alone, you have to look for greener pastures unless you just don't care about athletics.
Yeah.
And that's I'm not saying this as a U of A fan.
No, we talk about it.
This as
the administration doesn't care.
Listen, I just cannot believe that would potentially, listen, think about the people that have just put in so much effort and work to try and get this thing up to where it needs to be, year after year, decade after decade. You're just going to throw that away because you yourself don't value athletics? Like, I just don't understand it. TCU's enrollment went up by, I think, like 133% because they reached the CFP.
Yeah.
Like, athletics matters. It matters to students. My kids are juniors in high school. And my daughter went up to NAU and she was like, man, it's kind of quiet up here. And my son was like, well, I'm going to U of A. And I asked him why. He's like, because they got basketball.
Yeah.
Like, they got sports. Like, I want to go to games.
Yeah.
Like, that's what kids fuck with.
Yeah.
Like, nobody cares about all the other stuff. So I just hope that ASU, honestly, I hope ASU, firms up and they do follow suit. If Arizona does go and goes with them, I have a bad feeling it's going to be Arizona. Then it's going to stop temporarily until we get maybe a new influx. Maybe 30 months or 30 days. You might be right on that. You might be right that Oregon won't make a move. But I feel like the Big Ten and the Big 12 know that Oregon and Washington are right there, and they've got to make a move right now. Otherwise, one of them risks losing out.
And the one final thing that I will say on this is, again, when you see these rumors out on Twitter, because that's specifically where they're coming from, you have to, again, realize that people in these administrations and working with these conferences are not the ones spilling all of these beans. They are playing this, at least, again, in terms of Arizona State and Colorado, they are playing this very close to the vest in terms of leaving a conference. In Colorado, from my knowledge of that situation, and again, I will, not necessarily a rumor, but just the first thing that came to my mind when I saw that Dion was not going to be at Pac-12 Media Day is this is a little fishy. This is a little fishy. I know Dion was avoiding me specifically, but there is Dion's surgery on his foot. He could have had the next day. He could have had the day before. You're telling me the only reason that Dion, Coach Prime Sanders, couldn't come to Pac-12 Media Day is because he had to, of all 365 days, when you have all of this national media that are going to be asking you a million questions, the one day out of 365 you're going to have surgery on that day?
Mm-hmm.
That's in my personal opinion, that just seems fishy. And again, from what I know of everything that happened with Colorado in terms of people that were in Vegas that would have known if there was a move happening, there were people that were certainly caught off guard by Colorado leaving last week that are within Colorado, that either they are got the best damn poker face in all of Las Vegas, or that they played it so close to the vest that there were people that were surprised about that move.
I don't know, man. When you see George Kliavkoff talking and he says that, we're not announcing a deal today because we want to focus on the great stories we have to tell here in football. And then Colorado AD Rick George walks out immediately after that. I don't know. The writing kind of felt like it was on the wall at that point. Like I knew Colorado was gone.
Yeah.
Like there was no doubt about that.
George stuck his foot in his mouth.
It's just who else was going to go.
Yeah. I guess we'll see. It's only a matter of time before more conference realignment stuff continues.